Welcome to NEXTGames video on how to obtain the Empyrean weapon Kannagi. After sitting on the level 80 version of this katana for many years now, I decided to finally finish it. I already have a finished relic katana Kikoku that I have been using for about a year, but I've been unhappy with its damage. It's a nice tanking katana, but its damage really falls short when it comes to the higher level content. The first thing you'll want to do to obtain this weapon is go to Rulud Gardens in the very northern part of the map and open this chest. Inside of here is one of each of the weapons that you can upgrade through the Magian trials in this process. You want to find the Kabashiri. There'll be no charge for it, you can take it right out of the chest. Once you get it, go ahead and trade it to the Magian Moogle, and he will offer you a series of quests that you can do to upgrade this katana. As you go through this process, you'll have to either go out and kill certain notorious monsters, which you'll get credit for right away on the katana, or you will have to go out and get some kind of trophy or currency and trade a certain amount to this delivery box right here. Once you've traded the amount that's necessary, you can then trade the weapon to the Moogle to finish that trial. Let's go ahead and start going through these trials and see what they're going to look like. So the first 6 trials you'll be undertaking have to do with notorious monsters that are spread throughout Vanadil. The first trial will have you going against Ziggy Bone Eater, that is in Oboro Mines. This is a lottery spawn NM, and to locate him you'll want to go to the 3rd floor. Around H7, H8, you'll find an H-shaped room. He'll be on the east side of that room, and you'll want to kill the Veteran Kadav, that is the lottery placeholder. Every 8 minutes, that Kadav will respawn, and it'll either be that Kadav, or it'll actually be the notorious monster that will give you credit for one of these 3 kills. Now, if you do kill him, it's going to be a minimum of a 1 hour respawn, so go ahead and do something else for an hour, and then come back and get back to killing the lottery spawns. And then after you kill 3 of those, this first trial will be complete. The second trial you'll be doing is against Lumbering Lambert, and you'll need to kill 3 of those. You can find him in Lethane Plateau. And this is a lottery spawn NM. To make him spawn, you'll want to kill the battering ram that pops on the east side of Lethane Plateau. The battering rams have 10-minute respawns, and it can take up to 12 hours for this one to spawn, so this one can be kind of frustrating. But the minimum respawn after his last time of death is 1 hour. So eventually when you do kill him, you want to wait at least 1 hour before trying to make him pop again. The third one in our list is the Deadly Dodo, and you want to kill 3 of those as well. You'll find the Deadly Dodo in Saramang Champagne, and this is a lottery spawn NM off the Tabar Beaks that are around J6, K6, and I6. Now after you defeat the Deadly Dodo, it's a minimum of a 90-minute respawn before you'll see him again. And the Tabar Beaks that you're killing to try and make him pop each have 5-minute respawns. The fourth NM on the list is Gargantua. Now you'll need to kill 4 of these instead of 3. You can find Gargantua in Budushing Glacier. This is yet another lottery spawn NM. The lottery spawn is off of Stone Golems at the J8 location. Now after you kill Gargantua, it's only a 30-minute respawn before you can see him again, so it's a little bit better than the previous NMs. And those Stone Golems repop every 5 minutes of the placeholder for him. So you'll just want to keep killing those Stone Golems every 5 minutes until he pops. The 5th trial on the list is up against Megalobuggard. You'll need to kill 4 of them. This is a lottery spawn NM located in Luface Meadows. You'll need to kill Gigantobuggards around the G7 and 8 and H7 and 8 locations in order to make him spawn. Once you do kill him, he'll have a 60-minute respawn before you'll see him again, and those Gigantobuggards that are his lottery pop will respawn every 5 minutes. The 6th and final NM in this grouping of Phase 1 is Ratakaskar. You'll have to kill 4 of those. This is a lottery spawn NM in Fort Karugo Narugo S. Now, this is a lottery spawn off the Vorpal Bunny around the H10 to H11 location. The minimum respawn for him is 90 minutes, and those bunnies are going to respawn every 5 minutes that are a lottery pop for him. That brings us to the end of Phase 1. Now let's talk about Phase 2, where we're taking on Voidwalker NMs. So all of these NMs take place in the Voidwalker NM system. They are all Tier 2 NMs, which means that you will need to get past a Tier 1 Voidwalker NM in order to actually pop any of these. So in order to actually get the Tier 2 pop, what you need to do is get a clear Abizite from Asai Nebam in Relude Gardens at G10. You then need to go to any of the following zones and run around the zone and heal. If you're close to an NM, it will tell you the direction and distance that it currently is. Go to that location and try and rest again. If no NM is close by, you will need to keep looking around and using that heal command until you get close to one. Once you heal within a short distance of the NM, it will automatically spawn. Once that NM is defeated, it has the chance of turning that clear Abizite into a colorful Abizite. If it does, great, you have your T2 pop, and you can now move on to popping one of our T2 NMs that are for one of our trials down there. However, if it doesn't change, well, now you have to go to another one of these zones that is in this T1 zones list and pop another one and hope it changes on that kill. Sometimes you get really lucky and it changes right away. Sometimes you can go a handful of pops before it changes. So just keep trying and eventually it will change. Once it does change from a clear Abizite to a colorful Abizite, you can go kill the appropriate NM below for the trial you are on. If it changes to a different Abizite once you kill that T2 NM, you then need to start this process all over again, sadly, with the purchase of a clear Abizite and then upgrading it to a colorful, and then you can go pop your Tier 2, the next one in your list again. However, if it doesn't actually change to a different color Abizite when you defeat your Tier 2 Notorious Monster, you can just go to another one of the zones in the list and quickly pop another one. So that is a brief explanation of the Voidwalker NM system. You need to use that to actually defeat these next 3 trials. The first one is going to be Trial 584 against Jahista, which is a Scorpion-type monster, and you'll need to defeat 6 of those. The next one is Trial 585, which is against Capricornus, and you'll need to defeat 6 of those. That is a Pujol-type monster. And then the last one is Trial 1508, which is against Tammuz. You'll need to defeat 8 of those, and he is a giant battering ram or ram-type monster. Now the locations that you can find each of those monsters are listed right there underneath each one. And as I said before, if it doesn't change to a colored Abizite, you can just head to the next zone in that list and go ahead and pop them. Note that if you do pop one in one zone, it will not respawn for about 1 hour. Let's go ahead and move on to Phase 2 and talk about what happens in Abizia when we go to upgrading the Kannagi. So each Empyrean weapon has 3 Abizia trials, and these basically require you to enter Abizia and kill a zone boss a number of times. 2 of them require you to kill him anywhere from 25 to 50 times, and the other one requires you to kill him anywhere from 37 to 75 times. So these trials can take quite some time, but using some Abizia techniques, they can be sped up quite a bit. The key is to make sure you are maintaining the correct lights while farming the NM's needed pop items, and therefore you're getting both pop items from the chest as well as the pop items you're actually legitimately farming, and it basically makes the process go at least twice as fast. The other key to Abizia is the red proc, and what I mean by that is every boss that you kill, if you need a key item from that boss in order to pop one above it, you need to actually proc the red proc with the required weapon skill in order to make sure that the drop rate is 100% on that key item. Otherwise, the drop rate's anywhere from 25 to 50%, and you may have to kill many bosses just to actually get up to the one boss you need to kill for your item. So you really need to make sure that you're using the red proc on every single boss you kill that you are needing a KI from. The good part about this is Ninja Warrior can do all of the red procs as long as you have the appropriate weapons obtained. So right there is the chart of all of the weapon skills that you will need to do the red proc. And as you're actually doing different weapon skills, it will give you clues so that you know exactly which one it is you need to use. I usually start off with Blade E, obviously, and usually I'll use that a time or two, and within that, he'll give me a clue in regards to which element it is that I should be using, and then I can further narrow down the list to make sure I get the red proc before I defeat the boss. Now let's talk about the first trial we're going to have to do in Abizia, which is the Helm of Briareus, and we'll need 50 of those. In order to defeat this monster, you'll need to go into the Lethane Plateau Abysia. Once in there, you'll need to defeat these 3 regular types of mobs called Bethelgigas, Hadelgigas, and Demersalgigas for different kinds of rare items, a trophy shield, an oversized sock, and a massive armband. Once you have those rare items in your inventory, you can then go to the appropriate question mark spot, trade that item to it, and pop an appropriate notorious monster. You'll want to make sure that you get the red proc on all 3 of those notorious monsters called Demersalgigas, Pantargirl, and Adamastor. After you get the key item from all 3 of those, you are ready to pop 1 Briareus. Then once you kill him, you will actually get 1 to 2 of his helms. This is why you need to kill him roughly 25 to 50 times. You'll be able to find Briareus at J6 in Lethane Plateau. Now a few notes. Treasure Hunter is useful in getting both the rare pop items above in regards to the trophy shield, the oversized sock, and the massive armband, and it's also very useful in regards to getting as many helms as possible, i.e. 2, for each kill of Briareus. So, if you have a white Rarb Cap +1, that is definitely the best option to go with, so you can have some Treasure Hunter on him. If you don't have one of those, you can go ahead and use Lion, Lion 2, or Arc MR, and all of those trusts will give you Treasure Hunter. That does bring me to my next one, though, which is, in this zone, you can get a good number of KIs from the gold chest. As you're farming the KIs and the rare pop items above. So in order to actually get the most of these KIs from the chest, you want to max your Pearlescent and Amber Lights in this zone. So what this means is you're going to want to finish off or kill mobs with a physical melee hit, which will give you a Pearlescent Light, or a magic weapon skill, such as Blade E. This will give you an Amber Light. Amber is the really important one because that's the one that's going to spawn the most gold chest. Pearlescent will spawn just more chests in general. You definitely do not want Azure or Ruby Light because those will pop more red or blue chest, which of course you're not really wanting in this process. This is also why it's important that you don't want to use any melee or BLM trust because those will often finish off mobs with a weapon skill or magic, and that will end up messing up your lights. Ideally, what you're going for is you want a Pearl capped at 230 and an Amber at 255 in this zone, and that should give you the best chance of popping as many gold chests as possible and getting as many KI from those chests, because the higher your Amber color, usually the more frequently you're going to see those KIs. So after you've gone ahead and spent many hours in this zone getting all 50 of those Briareus helms, you're now going to move on to our next notorious monster or our next trial. This brings us to trial 2499, where we'll need 50 of Sobek's skin. You can find Sobek in Abysia Mysiris Coast. Just like with Briareus, we have to get 3 KIs from 3 different notorious monsters in order to pop 1 Sobek. The first and most important of these notorious monsters is Gukumits. Now, this is a timed notorious monster spawn every 10 or 15 minutes after he was last killed. He is going to drop the KI Molted Peace skin, and if you don't have this key item and this NM happens to be up, you should make it a priority to go kill him first, and also always make sure you get the red proc on him since he is a timed spawn. 10 or 15 minutes isn't too bad if you're just there soloing yourself. However, if other people are there competing with Sobek pops for you, this can definitely be your bottleneck. So you definitely want to focus on making sure you get Gukumits every time he spawns, otherwise you're going to be severely slowed down. The other 2 notorious monsters you can work on while you're waiting for Gukumits to respawn. The first of the 2 NMs you have to kill is Sirish. You can pop Sirish by trading a handful of molt scraps to the question marks at I-11. You can get those molt scraps by killing the dusk lizards in the area of J-11. Make sure you proc red, and Sirish will drop the gnarled lizard nail key item. The last boss that you need to kill, the last of the NMs, is Minax Buggard. And in order to pop Minax Buggard, you need to trade a Bewitching Tusk to the question marks at K10. In order to get the Bewitching Tusk, you need to kill Abizo Buggards in the area of J and K11. Make sure you proc red, and he will be sure to drop Bloodstained Buggard Fang key item. After you have the Fang, the Nail, and the Skin key items, you are now ready to pop Sobek at J11. After you kill Sobek, he will drop 1 to 2 of his skins, and then you'll have to repeat the process all over again. And again, I recommend you start with Gukamuts if he does happen to be up. Just like in the previous case, Treasure Hunter is going to help you dramatically in regards to getting those rare pop items for both Sirish and Manx Buzzard, and then additionally, it is going to help out with getting the skins as well when you kill Sobek. So go ahead and make sure you either have a White Rarb Cap +1, or you have Lion, Lion 2, or Arc MR in your trust party. The lights are the exact same here as you wanted them in the previous zone, so you want to cap them at a Pearl of 230 and an Amber of 255, making sure to completely stay away from Azure and Ruby Light, which you can get through doing magic and weapon skills, physical weapon skills, to finish off monsters. You want to make sure you're not doing those. You want to be doing just regular physical attacks to finish off a monster, which will get you Pearlescent, or finishing them with a Magic WS, which will get you Amber. The main reason that this would be most important is if you happen to have other competition in the area and you're fighting over Gukamuts. Oftentimes, you can actually end up getting several Gukamuts pops before Gukamuts can pop once when you have Gold Chest Max. So remember that if you happen to be having running up against a bunch of competition in the area. The third and final of the Abizia Notorious monsters is Epidemic, and we will need 75 of his horns. You will find him in Abizia Ulagard. The first item you will get in order to pop him is Sisyphus Fragment. Now Sisyphus is a timed spawn every 10 to 15 minutes. He will spawn somewhere in the F to G6 range. Now, he is going to be the bottleneck for this whole process, as usually there's several people farming him at the same time, and he has a fairly low drop rate of this fragment at roughly 25 to 50%. Additionally, a red proc will not help you, as red proc does not help with drop rate, only Treasure Hunter does. So all you can really do is just keep trying to plow through him and hoping that he drops the item you need. Try and wear that White Rarb Cap, or use one of those trusts that you have below in regards to Lion, Lion 2, or Arc MR in order to try and speed up the process. The next one you need to defeat are Snowflakes in the F or G5 area. Eventually, one of them will drop a Gelid Arm. This is a rare pop item that you will use to trade to the question marks in that nearby area to pop Upas Kamui, which has about a 50% drop rate on a Snow God core. You then need the Sisyphus Fragment and the Snow God core to go to the lower part of that area you're in. There, you'll want to kill the Oliphants, which can be found at F6. Once one of them drops a high-quality Marid hide, you have all 3 items you need to pop the next boss. Once you have all 3 items, go to F7 and trade them to the question marks to spawn Dahorm Kimara. Now you must be sure to proc red on this boss. If you don't, then you only have about a 25 to 50% chance of getting the key pop item to pop Epidemic. If you don't get it, you have to start this entire process over again, and you have nothing to show for all your work. So this is definitely the most important red proc of this entire weapon creation process thus far. After you defeat him, you'll hopefully get the Torn Kimara Wing pop item, and just about 50 feet away is Epidemic's pop location at F6. Once you defeat him, he will drop 1 to 2 horns. Now you want to make sure that you use the White Rarb Cap +1 if you have it to make the Sisyphus Fragment drop as quickly as possible, as well as the Snow God core and the Gelid Arm and the high quality Marid hide. So Treasure Hunter is very useful in this particular trial. You can also use Lion, Lion 2, and Arc MR for Treasure Hunter but it's actually quite risky to use them because of what I'm about to talk about here. And that is, in this zone, you can actually get a really good number of Sisyphus Fragments and Snow God cores from Golden Chest if your light balance is exactly right. Now to do so, you want to max out your Pearl, but instead of maxing out your Amber lights like in the previous two zones, you want to stop them at 60. And the reason for that is because the higher the number, the higher quality the chest is. And the best chance of acquiring the Sisyphus Fragments and the Snow God cores is right there at that 60 lights number. Once you start going higher than that, it starts putting all kinds of other key items and stuff in the chest that you don't want, and your chances of actually getting one of those items goes down substantially. This brings us to Phase 4, which I'll just call a whole lot of money. And that is because I often find that it's just much easier to buy many of these items off the auction house than it is to farm them. Some of these items, especially the 10,000 Riften boulders, can take quite some time to farm when you can actually get Gil quite a bit more easily than you can get Riften boulders. But let's go ahead and go through these just so you're aware of how it is you could farm for each one of these if you wanted to. The first one is Trial 2932, and the Moogle will ask for 1,500 heavy metals. Now these can be obtained by killing Voidwatch boss notorious monsters or an ambuscade. They can also be purchased on the auction house. Now the best way to obtain these is to wait until they run the Voidwatch event that they run a few times a year, where the lights are automatically maxed every time you pop the monster, and therefore your kill times get down to just 2 or 3 minutes, and you can pop 20 of these things in an hour period, and hopefully get anywhere from 20 to 100 heavy metals within an hour. Now, you do need to make sure that you're farming specific Voidwatch notorious monsters when you're doing this, because only some of them will drop them. Those are Kagan, Akvan, Pill, Baldus Rex, Ig Almia, Bismarck, and Morta. Now, I will say those last 4, Bismarck, Morta, Ig Almia, and Balatus, are the ones that I would stick with the most. And the reason I'll say that is because they also drop the Rift Trough that you will need for the next trial, Trial 3395. He will ask you for 60 of those when you're finished with Trial 2932. So you're kind of farming for both these at the same time. You still use this same event that they run a few times a year for Voidwatch and kill those 4 M&Ms, whichever one you find easiest, and kill it as many times as you can, as quickly as you can, hoping to farm those heavy metals and Rift Dross. Now after you finish both those trials, you are finished with the Trial of Magians, and you have finished with the Moogle. You'll now move on to Oboro, who is in Port Juno, and you will finish your upgrade process with him. The first thing you'll do is you'll give him 300 Riften boulders to upgrade it to level 119. Now these can be obtained a number of ways. You can get them from high-tier mission battlefields, Unity notorious monsters, Ambuscade, and several other sources can drop them in small quantities. They can also, of course, be purchased on the auction house. Now, finding 300 of these isn't going to be overly difficult to farm, but this next one is where it becomes more challenging, is where you need 10,000 for the next upgrade, and that's where you'll actually get the Afterglow effect, and the base damage of the weapon is also significantly increased to where it will boost its damage output substantially. So for this one, you need 10,000 Riften boulders. And you're going to need to purchase most of these off the auction house, frankly, because it's just too difficult to obtain them, farming them all individually. So go ahead and try and get Gil whatever way you can, as easily as you can, whether it's through Alexandrite or Ambuscade or Dynamis or Omen. However it is you can quickly get some Gil, go ahead and do it, and of course put that towards these Riften boulders. Now, once all that's done, there is one final upgrade stage, which will actually give you the ultimate weapon, but I have actually not started doing that yet because I do not have a Dynamis group to do it with yet. So I'll probably make a video on that someday when I decide which one of my endgame weapons I'm going to take all the way to that final augmented stage. But in the meantime, this is where I will stop with the upgrade process. One last thing is, I'm sure some people are curious just what the damage output is of the new Kannagi using Blade High over using Blade Metsu with my old Relic Katana. I actually can say I'm pleasantly surprised. Now I will say the damage output I think is going to be much better when I finish my Aeonic Katana, but it's definitely up substantially compared to what the Relic Katana was putting out. When it comes to higher level monsters, such as level 139, stuff in Dynamis D, things like that, I'll say the parser says I'm getting about 2,000 damage more per weapon skill on this one than I am previously. And the aftermath of this weapon skill is boosting my damage overall a lot more than it was. So overall my damage is increased substantially with this katana. Also, I will say, when we're talking about lower level mobs, such as level 119 stuff, my damage output is increased as much as it's about 5,500 in regards to the parser. So that critical weapon skill really does appear to work better on the, you'll say, lower level stuff, and it kind of tapers out the higher level it goes. But I'm definitely happy with the katana for now, and it'll definitely be a nice DD katana for me as I work on finishing my Aeonic katana over the next year or so. I hope someone found that video helpful. If anyone has any questions in the process, go ahead and please post it down there in the comments. And I should be posting some videos here throughout the week that show me using this new katana and just how it is differing between this setup and my old Relic katana setup. Have a good week, everyone.